Welcome to this week's edition of World Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley reporting from Washington, D.C. Today, for the first time in several weeks, domestic U.S. issues will occupy our first several segments before we go to the Middle East, Libya, Syria, Yemen, and related issues. We now have the Tea Party, the Koch Brigade, the forces of reaction on the attack here in Washington, D.C., and, of course, the Wall Street puppet Obama, eager to capitulate, as we will try to show. But what we are seeing now is yet another demonstration. The Republican Party, the party of chaos, ungovernability, social breakdown, barbarism, Dickensian cruelty, the return to the 19th century, or is it really the 18th century? The cause, as Rhett Butler says in the famous movie Gone with the Wind, the cause of living in the past, the desire to turn back the clock, but in the service of a neo-feudal attack on the modern state. And this is indeed the common denominator. What's happening in the Middle East with the color revolutions, the CIA people power coups, the putches, is a CIA, State Department, National Endowment for Democracy war on the modern state. It's the desire to make all of those countries into failed states. That is the U.S. program. Everybody's a rogue state, and everybody must therefore become a failed state. Inside the United States, it takes the form of this right-wing assault. Right now, it's the Tea Party, who are the shock troops of proto-fascist and extreme reactionary austerity. But they're doing it in the same ultimate cause. This is neo-feudalism. This is a desire to weaken the central government in order to allow the economic royalists, the malefactors of great wealth, the plutocrats who have absolute contempt for the American people, to smash the state. It is a right-wing anarchist program, and it entails genocide against the American people. The simple and most basic level of politics. Somebody wants to kill you, American people. This is not genocide in Iraq anymore, horrible as these things have been, or Vietnam, or other places around the world. This is now a genocidal policy against the U.S. population, dressed up, of course, in the cliches of the Austrian school, the free market, free trade, and related demagogy. So that is what is happening. Now, as we tape the program here on the Friday, the 8th of April, we are now about 11 hours away from the possible shutdown of the United States government, with, of course, the impulse of this coming from these reactionaries, the 75 to 80 fanatics in the Tea Party caucus, especially in the House of Representatives, although there's also a brigade of Tea Party fanatics in the Senate who are threatening a filibuster of the raising of the debt ceiling, the increase in the public debt of the United States, which is likely to come up now in the next 5 weeks, between now, the 8th of April, and about the 15th or 16th of May, based on the current burn rate. That's going to come up. That, of course, would be a recipe for a catastrophic breakdown of the entire world economy, a universal panic, and the destruction of one of the most important national assets, and indeed world assets, potentially, not in the current form, but potentially, which is the U.S. Treasury market, the broadest, deepest, most liquid market in the world, which is the one thing that allows the U.S. dollar to be a reserve currency. Anybody who wants to be a reserve currency would have to come up with something similar to that U.S. Treasury market, and so far nobody has it. The ability to turn trillions of dollars, if necessary, of U.S. government securities into cash on the same day. Nobody else has that, so that's the story here. The basic dynamic is this. Obama is surrendering, capitulating to the reactionary demands on the installment plan. The first capitulation by Obama is even to accept the logic of a debate about cutting the federal budget, making that a priority, at the time when we have, by most measures, 22 to 23% real unemployment and underemployment. In other words, the shadow government statistics estimate of unemployment, corresponding to some degree to the U.S. Department of Labor, I believe, U8 level of unemployment. But therefore, the success, first of all, of the reactionaries with the capitulation of Obama is that this debate is occurring at all. Really, it ought to be a debate about how to finance the necessary projects of infrastructure, the nationwide fast rail network. We're having the 30th anniversary of the French TGV. So the French have had the TGV going for 3 decades, and the U.S. has absolutely nothing. And we've got reactionary Republican governors, Scott of Florida, Christie of New Jersey. We've got Walker of Wisconsin, and I believe either Mitch Daniels of Indiana or Snyder of Michigan, all saying no, 1,000 times no, we will not allow the building of infrastructure. The debate should be about how that infrastructure gets built, how to rebuild the interstate highway system, how to build the 1,000 hospitals, the 100 ultra-modern nuclear reactors to replace the aging and therefore increasingly dubious pre-Carter set of reactors that we have. No, this is off the table. This is the year of Gagarin. It's the 50th anniversary of Yuri Gagarin, the first human being to go into outer space. So salute to the Soviet space program, salute to Gagarin. The United States is celebrating the 50th anniversary with one astronaut on a Russian launcher, and it's great that we have one thing that works in terms of international cooperation with Russia. But other than that, the U.S. space program is dying. We're a couple of months away from the last launch of the U.S. space shuttle. After that, the U.S. will be unable to put a payload of human manned payload into orbit. So the U.S. will be nowhere. These are the things we should be discussing, the great questions of national survival. But the monetarists, the reactionaries, the Koch Brigade, the Tea Party, what have we, the Austrians, the Chicago boys, have pushed the entire debate into what kind of cuts would there be. The original reactionary demand from the Tea Party was $100 billion of cuts in non-defense discretionary spending in the current year, which means, unusually, 2011 fiscal year, which is going on right now and which ends on September 30th. So during the current budget year, since the Republicans blocked the passage of any budget last year in the Senate, they try to get away from this fact. The fact that there is no budget now is due to the Republicans primarily, not allowing it to go through the Senate, where they had the ability to block it, and they did. So therefore, we're talking about this year. We're talking only about non-defense discretionary spending. These are mainly the social programs that Republicans and reactionaries and proto-fascists hate, and therefore the attempt is to cut those, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Obama did not accept the $100 billion. Obama began accepting $25 billion, $30 billion, and I think by now we're up to $38 billion. And, of course, every time Obama makes a concession, this is negotiating with a mob, if you will, because the Tea Party caucus in the House is that kind of a mob. They are not bound by the things that the hapless Speaker of the House, Boehner, agrees to. So therefore, every time Obama makes concessions, the reactionaries in the Tea Party move the goalposts and they make it harder and harder, and they add extra demands. It's like negotiating with a tyrant dictator, if you will. But Obama has been willing to do that. So we're now at this present impasse. We're 11 hours away from a shutdown of the U.S. government. This would be a tragedy for a number of reasons. We'll be back in a minute.